We've got this idea from pop culture about all these different things that we call robots. And the idea of robot actually goes back to a Czechoslovakian play from, when was this, 1920s or so? It was a play where this person created these automatic artificial beings that were meant to look like humans and replace humans. And the term robot comes from robotic, which means like slave. So right away we had this starting to be this idea in pop culture that robots are slaves, that they're made by humans to work for humans in some specific way. And across pop culture, like in that image, you have a lot of different representations of this idea of robots that have been made and programmed to do something for humans, to replace humans. But in some way, they are supposed to be meant to work for all of humanity. The most common idea are these types of physical robots, which have some combination usually of mechanical, electronic, digital type pieces that come together. The more advanced computer in the robot, the more advanced the robot itself. But not all robots have to be physical. There are currently operating around the world a lot of virtual bots that live essentially online and do things. They've been programmed to act in certain ways and fulfill certain jobs online. If you go to Twitter, there's a lot of tweet bots that actually operate on Twitter where it's a specific account where no one person is behind that account making these tweets or doing retweets. It's just a program that's been developed to look for specific types of tweets on Twitter and then retweet them. Or there's an example of this massive online course down in Georgia that usually these types of courses you're going to have teaching assistants, human beings, graduate students whose job it is to help the professor. But in this online course, along with having human teaching assistants, there's been a virtual bot operating as well as one of the teaching assistants. And the students couldn't tell you which one was the teaching real human, which was not. A lot of times now, if you're getting calls from telemarketing, it's most likely not a human who's initiating that call. It's a bot. I've been getting a lot of those lately, which is really annoying. But you could actually call up customer service and you might be talking with a bot for a long time. And you might only talk to a bot instead of a human being. So a robot, the main idea behind it is this automated function, that it's been programmed to do something, whether it takes the form of some type of physical activity or it's something completely virtual. It's been programmed to fulfill some type of task for humanity. We want to think that there's stuff out there we can talk to, that we can identify with, that we can get along with psychologically, so that we don't feel as scared by them, or so that we have this emotional attachment to them, which justifies how we spend time with them. The reason why people put cats and dogs in clothes the way that they do is because they're anthropomorphizing them, so that they're enhancing their bond with them and maybe feeling a little less weird when they start talking to them all the time. There's this idea that I need to do more research on called like imaginative literacy, which is the necessity for people to be able to learn the difference between fantasy and reality. And when you blur the lines like that, it can make it hard. I mean, especially so like something like anthropomorphism can make it harder to understand the difference between fantasy and reality, which is rather fascinating. And that's actually where robots can start coming into it then too, because if we start having these artificial agents, these artificial beings in our lives to that extent, and we do anthropomorphize them to the extent that we do, where we make them look like dogs. And there's one that is right now a seal. It looks like a cute little baby seal meant to be for therapeutic uses, because you just hug it and it like makes seal noises and everything. And go watch Cartoon Network, go watch Disney Channel, go watch Nickelodeon. Look at not the cartoons, commercials for the things that children are interacting with today and how they're robots who have been anthropomorphized either to be like humans or through zoomorphism to be like animals, and how that's starting to blur the lines between what a robot can and cannot be, what is fictional and real. And what makes it really interesting then is if we start having the ability for a child's toy to be a teddy bear, to be artificially intelligent, to interact with the kid as if it is a smart thing, that starts to become maybe on the creepy side again. We're going to have to really consider the ethics of what we consider human and what we want to control in terms of making humans at some point. An old movie that's somewhat gets at this too is Steven Spielberg's AI, Artificial Intelligence. In that movie, a couple has a child, but the child is very sick and in a coma, and they received this robot. It was young Haley Joel Osment at the time, who is a boy, looks just like a boy. And the trick is, do you want to have that type of child in the future? Would that make more sense? And these are the types of things we might have to deal with, or the idea of, if you can control to a great extent what your child looks like, and maybe through genetics also what your child thinks like, how is that any different than programming a robot to be your child?